One of them couldn't resist making a mean-spirited remark, saying, "I bet Iyabo will give birth to a monkey." The others burst into laughter at the cruel joke, their laughter echoing through the forest. Once upon a time, there lived a man named Olu. Now, Olu was not just any man. He was the only man in the entire village. Imagine that. With his sturdy frame and warm smile, Olu was a beloved figure, cherished by all who knew him. But as fate would have it, Olu found himself in a most peculiar predicament. You see, the women of the village, wise and resourceful as they were, came to a collective decision. They decided that each of them would propose to Olu, one by one, until he had taken every woman in the village as his wife. Can you believe it? At first, Olu was taken by surprise of the unexpected turn of events. He scratched his head in disbelief, wondering how he could possibly satisfy the needs and desires of so many women. "Me? Marry all of you?" he exclaimed, his voice tinged with uncertainty. But as the women explained their reasoning, Olu's heart softened. He saw the sincerity and love in their eyes, their genuine desire for companionship and unity. With a sigh and a nod, Olu accepted their proposals, though deep down, he couldn't shake the feelings of apprehension that lingered within him. For you see, dear viewers, Olu knew that being the husband to every woman in the village would not be an easy task. How would he attend to their needs, their wants, their dreams? How could he ensure that each of his wives felt loved and cherished without neglecting any of them? These thoughts weighed heavily on Olu's mind as he embarked on this remarkable journey of marriage. Yet, despite his reservations, Olu remained committed to his newfound role, determined to bring joy and stability to the lives of his beloved wives. Something truly extraordinary occurred. All of Olu's wives found themselves expecting babies at the same time. Can you believe it? Each woman carried within her the promise of new life, swelling with the anticipation of motherhood. But when the blessed day finally arrived and the babies were born, there was a surprising twist that left everyone speechless. Not one of the newborns was a boy. Nope, they were all adorable baby girls, each one a precious bundle of joy, with rosy cheeks and tiny fingers that grasped at the air with wonders. Imagine the astonishment that swept through the village like a gentle breeze. Now, while most villagers would rejoice at the sight of so many beautiful baby girls, for Olu, the news brought a tinge of sadness. You see, deep in his heart, Olu had held on to a secret hope, a hope that one of his wives would give birth to a baby boy. He had prayed fervently, believing that as the only man in the village, he would be blessed with a son to carry on his legacy. But alas, his prayers went unanswered, and his hopes were dashed as each daughter was born into the world. Olu couldn't help but feel a sense of disappointment, a longing for a son to call his own and pass down the traditions of their village. Yet, despite his sadness, Olu remained a pillar of strength and love for his wives and their daughters. He embraced each newborn with tenderness, vowing to cherish and protect them with all his heart. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, tensions began to simmer in Olu's household. Every day seemed to bring more tension to Olu's home. What was once a happy place now felt gloomy, with whispers and arguments filling the air. It all began with little disagreements, harmless enough at first. But before anyone knew it, those small fights turned into big, loud arguments. Olu's wives, who used to get along so well, were suddenly at each other's throats. Accusations flew like wildfire, each woman pointing fingers at the other, claiming that they were to blame for the absence of sons in the village. "You're a witch," they cried. their voices tinged with anger and fear. "You cursed us all with your evil magic." Poor Olu felt like his heart was breaking as he watched his once happy family fall apart before his eyes. He tried his best to calm them down and make peace, but it was like trying to stop a river from flowing. With each passing day, the arguments got worse and the accusations got uglier. Olu felt like he was trapped in a nightmare he couldn't escape from. His home, which used to be filled with laughter and love, now felt like a battleground. Finally, with tears streaming down his face, Olu knew he had to make a tough decision. He gathered his wives together, and with a voice full of sadness, told them he couldn't bear to see them unhappy anymore. He had to leave the village and find some peace in the quiet of the wilderness. And so, with a heavy heart and a backpack full of memories, Olu said goodbye to the village he had once called home for so long. But even though his wives tried to beg him to stay, telling him they had changed and were now at peace with each other, Olu didn't listen. As Olu disappeared into the distance, a sense of emptiness settled over the village. Everyone felt sad and lost without him, and there was one of Olu's wife who seemed to cause trouble wherever she went. Fatu. She just couldn't stay out of it, especially when it came to bothering poor Iyabo, the youngest wife and an orphan. Fatu didn't waste any time picking on Iyabo. She'd find her whenever she could, saying mean things with a nasty look in her eye. "Look at you now, Iyabo," Fatu would sneer. "Our husband, the one who liked you the most, is gone, and I don't think he's coming back any time soon. It's just you and me now, and I'll make sure you suffer." Poor Iyabo felt terrible whenever Fatu said those things. She felt so alone and scared, with no one to help her. Day after day, Fatu would make Iyabo's life miserable, but Iyabo stayed strong, even though it was tough. As the days went by and Olu didn't come back, the village felt like it was holding its breath. Everyone hoped Olu would return soon and make things better. When the food Olu took ran out, he felt a gnawing hunger in his belly that he couldn't ignore. As he sat alone in the wilderness, regret washed over him like a wave. "I must be the only person in history to go on a hunger strike by accident," he joked to himself, though the humour couldn't mask the seriousness of his situation. How could he have left his family behind? Shame burned in his chest, and he realized he had run away from his responsibilities faster than a rabbit being chased by a cheetah. Filled with a sense of longing and a desire to make things right, Olu made up his mind to return home. With each step, his heart raced with anticipation, eager to see his wives again, especially Iyabo, who had suffered so much in his absence. When Olu finally arrived back in the village, his wives rushed to greet him with open arms, their faces lighting up with joy at his return. But it was Iyabo who ran to him first, tears of relief streaming down her cheeks as she hugged him tightly. "Oh, Olu, you're back!" she exclaimed, her voice filled with emotion. "I missed you so much. I'm so glad you're home." The weight of her words filled Olu's heart with warmth, washing away the last traces of doubt and regret. As the days passed, excitement filled the air as 5 of Olu's wives found out they were expecting. But when their due dates drew near, a twist came their way. They were all told to go to their parents' houses to give birth. Why? Because a wise prophetess had spoken, saying that the only chance of having a son was for each wife to deliver at her own home. When Olu shared the news, 4 of his wives rejoiced at the prospect, eager for a chance to break the village's curse. But poor Iyabo, the orphan wife, felt a pang of sadness. She had no parents' house to go to, no place to call home. And Olu, knowing her situation, felt torn, but he believed breaking the curse was vital for their village's future. With heavy hearts, they bid farewell as each wife left for her parents' home, hoping and praying for a miracle. And as they journeyed away, the village held its breath, awaiting the day when they would return, their arms filled with bundles of joy, perhaps even a precious son to bring hope to their village. Lost and all by herself, Iyabo wandered through the forest, feeling a heavy weight of worry in her heart. With every step, her feet grew more tired, and her stomach rumbled with hunger. Just when she thought she couldn't take another step, she stumbled upon a small hut nestled among the trees. Approaching the hut cautiously, Iyabo peeked inside and saw a table laid with delicious-looking food. Her stomach growled loudly, and without thinking twice, she sat down and devoured the meal, feeling grateful for the food after her long journey. But as she finished eating and prepared to rest, the door creaked open, revealing a very old woman shuffling inside, her eyes kind but showing the signs of age. At first, Iyabo's heart pounded with fear, unsure of what to expect from the stranger. But the old woman's gentle voice and warm demeanor soon put her at ease, and Iyabo found herself staying put as the wise woman approached. "What's troubling you, dear?" the old woman asked softly, her voice as gentle as a breeze. Iyabo hesitated at first, but there was something in the old woman's eyes that made her feel safe. With tears welling up in her eyes, Iyabo poured out her troubles, sharing the burden of being an orphaned wife in a village where she had no family or home to call her own. The old woman listened attentively, her face showing compassion and understanding. Moved by Iyabo's story, the old woman placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry, dear child," she said with a reassuring smile. "Destiny has a way of finding those who need it most." And then, with a twinkle in her eye, the old woman revealed a prophecy that filled Iyabo with hope and happiness. "You, my dear, will be the one to bring forth the long-awaited male child," the old woman declared confidently. "And not just one, but 2 bouncing baby boys will be born to you." Iyabo couldn't believe her ears. Excitement bubbled up inside her like a pot boiling over, washing away all her doubts and fears. With a heart overflowing with gratitude, she thanked the old woman for her kindness and wisdom, knowing that her life was about to change in the most wonderful way imaginable. The wise old woman knew that Iyabo's path would not be easy, especially with the jealousy that might arise among the other wives. So, before Iyabo's due date, she bestowed upon her a special charm, a protection against any harm that may come her way. "This charm will shield you and your precious babies from any ill intentions," the old woman explained, her voice filled with wisdom. "Keep it close to your heart, and it will keep you safe." Grateful for the old woman's guidance, Iyabo clutched the charm tightly, feeling a sense of comfort wash over her. Meanwhile, Olu's wives had already been instructed to gather at a meeting point after giving birth. They would then make their way to the village together. It was a plan carefully crafted by the prophetess to ensure a smooth reunion and to prevent any unnecessary conflict. As the days passed and the time for the meeting drew nearer, Iyabo and the other wives prepared themselves for the momentous occasion. Excitement buzzed in the air as they eagerly waited for the day they would be reunited with Olu and the rest of their family. After giving birth to her bouncing baby boys with the assistance of the old woman's guidance, Iyabo felt an overwhelming sense of joy and relief. Meanwhile, the other wives also gave birth, but to their dismay, all of their newborns were girls. Their hearts sank with disappointment, realizing that their hopes for a son had been shattered once again. As they gathered at the meeting point, before setting out to Olu's village, the other wives waited eagerly for Iyabo to join them. One of them couldn't resist making a mean-spirited remark, saying, "I bet Iyabo will give birth to a monkey." The others burst into laughter at the cruel joke, their laughter echoing through the forest. As Iyabo emerged from the forest with her baby boys cradled in her arms, the other wives watched in astonishment. Their fake smiles faltered, replaced by envy and resentment. Iyabo stood tall and proud, her sons nestled against her chest, their tiny faces peaceful and innocent. Hidden behind their forced smiles, the other wives nursed dark intentions. Despite their outward appearances, their hearts were filled with envy and resentment. They couldn't bear the sight of Iyabo's sons, who represented her happiness and their own feelings of disappointment. With trepidation weighing heavily on their hearts, the wives embarked on their journey to Olu's village. Their minds were consumed by thoughts of revenge, their determination fueled by jealousy. And all the while, Iyabo remained oblivious to their sinister plans. Little did she know, the other wives had conspired to throw her baby boys into the river, a cruel attempt to rid themselves of their envy once and for all. As they travelled, the air crackled with tension, each step bringing them closer to their wicked deed. As they finally reached the river, the other wives suggested that Iyabo join them for a bath before meeting Olu and the rest of the villagers. But sensing danger, Iyabo hesitated, her instincts warning her of the impending threat. The other wives, however, were relentless, overpowering her with their numbers. Despite Iyabo's protests, they forcefully took her babies from her and threw them into the river. Iyabo cried out in anguish, her heart breaking at the sight of her precious sons being cast into the river. She pleaded with the other wives to stop, but they paid no heed to her desperate pleas. After callously throwing the innocent babies into the river, the other wives turned to Iyabo with a menacing glare. They warned her never to utter a word about their heinous act to Olu, their husband, or face dire consequences. Shaken and terrified, Iyabo nodded in fearful agreement, her mind clouded with dread. When they finally arrived home, they were greeted by Olu and the other wives. Olu's eyes widened in surprise as he noticed that the other 4 wives were cradling their babies. But Iyabo was empty-handed. Concern etched on his face. Olu gently asked Iyabo why she wasn't with her child, his voice trembling with emotion. Tears streaming down her cheeks, Iyabo lied and claimed she had lost her baby during childbirth. Olu's heart shattered at her words, his cries echoing through the village. He questioned aloud what sins he had committed and who he had offended to deserve such anguish. As the babies splashed into the river, a miracle unfolded. The babies bobbed to the surface, their cries echoing across the water. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was the old woman. With a gentle yet determined hand, she scooped up the babies and cradled them close to her heart. With a gentle yet firm touch, she whisked them away to her humble hut hidden deep within the forest. There, she nurtured them with care and tenderness, ensuring their well-being while waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth. Days turned into weeks, and the babies thrived under the old woman's watchful gaze. They grew strong and healthy, their laughter ringing through the quiet forest like music. And as they flourished, so too did the old woman's resolve to set things right. When the time was ripe, the old woman emerged from the forest, the babies nestled safely in her arms. With a steely determination, she made her way to Iyabo and Olu's village, her heart heavy with the weight of the truth she carried. As she approached the village, whispers of anticipation spread like wildfire, drawing curious onlookers from every corner. And when the old woman finally stood before Iyabo and Olu, the truth spilled from her lips like a river. washing away the lies and deceit that had clouded their lives. Olu stood frozen in shock, his mind reeling with disbelief at the betrayal that had unfolded before him. He looked at Iyabo's tear-stained face, and then at the 4 guilty wives standing before him. He felt a mix of surprise and hurt, not knowing how to react. Turning to Iyabo, his voice shook as he asked, "Why didn't you tell me the truth?" His heart felt heavy, imagining the pain she must have endured. Tears filled Iyabo's eyes as she explained that she was afraid of what might happen if she spoke up. Olu's heart felt like a stormy sea, swirling with anger, sadness, and a sense of betrayal. He knew he had to act. With a deep breath, he raised his voice, commanding the deceitful wives to leave immediately. "Never come back," he thundered, his words echoing with finality. As the 4 wicked wives slunk away in shame, Olu embraced Iyabo tightly, their tears mingling as they found comfort in each other's arms. He felt grateful for the old woman's help and turned to her with heartfelt thanks. Standing together, Olu and Iyabo knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. With the old woman's guidance and their love for each other, they felt ready to take on the world. Hey there, fantastic viewers! Did this story captivate your imagination? If so, why not join our community for more incredible adventures? Just hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to share this story with your families and friends. Oh, and be sure to ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest tales. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay blessed.